Hello and welcome back. In this video we will finish up our section on equations. So here we have the equation for the volume of a sphere, which is given by this. V is equal to 4/3 times pi times r cubed. And V is going to be the volume of the sphere that we're looking at, and R is going to be the radius of the sphere, the distance from the center to the outside. So we're told that V is 56 cubic inches, and then we want to know what the radius is. So we're told the volume of the sphere, and we want to figure out, well, what's the size, essentially the length of the sphere. So to begin with, I want to write down the formula, except that we know that V is going to be 56. So we'll just replace that in there. So 56 is going to be 4/3 pi r cubed. And again, the way that I want to approach this is I want to figure out what r is. So I need to get r by itself. And we have this pesky, say, 4/3 multiplying pi multiplying r cubed. So what I want to do is, instead of multiplying, I want to divide both sides by 4/3. And by dividing by 4/3, we'll notice that this cancels out on this side. So what am I left with? I'm left with pi times r cubed. And then on this side, I have 56 divided by 4/3. And then luckily, we have seen what it means to divide by a fraction. It's the same thing as multiplying by the reciprocal. So this is going to be the same thing as 56 times 3/4. Cool. So now, when I get this, I have pi times r cubed. Again, I don't want the pi there, so what I will do is, to undo multiplication, I divide. So I'm going to divide both sides by pi. And again, why am I dividing? So I can undo multiplying by pi. So on this side, I'll just have r cubed. And on this side, I'll have 56 times 3/4 all over pi. And I want to solve this in my calculator first, and then I'll come back to this in a second. So let's come over to our calculator, and we'll take 56, and we will multiply by, and I'll use my parentheses down here so I get 3/4 as one fraction. So it'll be 3 divided by 4. And note, it sort of adds the parenthesis there already, so I can hit enter. So this is 42. So if I come back, the top of this fraction is just going to be 42. So let me write that down. So I've got 42 divided by pi. It's going to be r cubed. So if I come back, I want to take 42, which was my answer, and I want to divide that by pi. And note that we get this long number here. So this is going to be 13.369 ... I'm going to record that for the moment, but I don't want to round yet. 13 point, it was 369. So I don't want to round yet. I want to keep in my head, I don't want to round until the very end of the question. If I round too soon, I'll be off. So now I have this right here. I've got a number is equal to r cubed. And the question is, how do I get rid of the cubed? And the answer is, we're going to raise it to another power. So I'm going to take both sides, and I'm going to raise them to the 1/3 power. The nice thing about raising r cubed to the 1/3 power is that this will simplify to just r. This is going to be r to the 3rd to the 1/3. 3 times a third is 1. So that gives us r by itself. But whatever we do to one side, we have to do to the other. So I'm going to take this number and I'm going to raise it to the 1/3 power. So if I come back to my calculator, this number is already here, so I don't have to do anything. I can take that and I can raise it to the 1 divided by 3. So again, we can look at this and make sure that we got this right. So 13.369, this number was 42 divided by pi, and the 42 was a 56 times 3/4. So everything is lining up. I can see that I've got all this to the 1/3 power. If I hit enter, we see that this is going to be 2.3733 and so on. And we wanted to round this. Now that we're essentially done with the question, we can round this to the nearest tenth. So coming back down and looking at our answer, this is going to be 2 point, would be 3, except that the 7 is here, so we're going to round up. So this is going to be 2.4. So this is going to be the radius. And in fact, we can be a little bit more specific. It's going to be 2.4 inches. Remembering that the volume is in cubic inches, so the radius will just be in inches. So this is how we do with volume. And I do want to go through one last question, one that I kind of missed before. So before, the very first sorts of equations that we were looking at, we were having some equations, and we're just plugging in an x into here and then figuring out y. However, we could do this in reverse as well. If we're given a y, we could ask, well, what is the x that makes all that work? So let's go through this. We have our equation here. Y is equal to 5/7 x cubed plus 3, and y is going to be equal to 43. So let's plug 43 in here. So we'll have 43 is equal to 5/7 x cubed plus 3. Now, usually in order of operations, I would want to, so here we do parentheses first, then exponents, then multiplications and divisions, then additions and subtractions. However, this x here, I can't get this by itself. Normally, I would take this x and I would cube it using the exponent, and then I'd do the multiplication, and then I'd do the addition. But the x is in the middle of all of this. So what we're going to have to do is go in reverse. We'll have to undo these things in the order that they come up. So first and foremost, if we're trying to undo addition, we would use subtraction, and we see that we have a plus 3 here. In order to undo that, I'm going to have to subtract 3 from both sides. So if I add 3 and then subtract 3, those cancel out. And if I take 43 minus 3, I get 40. So far, so good. So now I've dealt with all of the addition on this side. So let's keep working backwards. Is there anything being multiplied? Well, yeah, I have 5/7 multiplying x cubed. So in order to undo this, I need to divide by 5/7. Cool. And then when I divide by 5/7, I cancel out the multiplication here. So instead of multiplying by 5/7, I've divided, and these will cancel out. So now all I need to do is figure out what is 40 times 7/5. This is something that we could work out by hand fairly easily. I'm just going to use my calculator. So I'm going to take 40 times, and I'll use parentheses to make sure I get the whole fraction together. 7 divided by 5. It adds that last fraction in there, or the last parenthesis in there for us. We'll hit enter, and we get 56. So let's simplify this. So we have 56 is equal to x to the 3rd power. And again, how do I undo x to a power? I raise it to another power, one that will cancel out with it. In this case, I'm going to take x to the 3rd power to the 1/3 power. So this is going to be 56 to the 1/3 power. And again, x to the 3rd power to the 1/3 power, these guys will cancel, and I'm left with just an x. And then here, this is something that we'll just have to type in. So we'll take 56, and we'll raise that to the 1 divided by 3. So here I have 56 to the 1/3 power. I hit enter, and we get 3.82586, and so on and so forth. But if we come back to our question, we want to round to the nearest hundredth. So that hundredth is 2 decimal places, so it's going to be 3.82, except we have a 5 behind it, so we round up. So 3.83. And it's going to be 3.83. So this is the number that if we plug this into our original equation for x, we should get y is equal to 43, or pretty close, since if we round, we're not exactly correct anymore. And that concludes the section on equations.